free. And I wish I could break all the chains holding me. And I wish I could say all the things that I should say. I'd say them loud and say them clear for the whole wide world to hear. And I wish I could be like a bird up in the sky. How sweet it would be if I found out I could fly. I'd soar up to the sun and I'd look down upon the sea. And I would sing because I know how it feels to be free. Yes, I would sing because I know how it feels to be free. Singing that song reminds me of what John Lewis said. He said, the movement without music is like a bird without wings. And for years I knew that song as one that John Denver had recorded for his first album, Rhymes and Reasons, back when he was simply the guy that rode leaving on a jet plane and who in January of 1969 called to tell the three remaining members of the Brothers Four that yes, he would like to be the new fourth guy. And what he didn't know was that he'd waited too long to respond. And I'd already gotten the job. And for more than 50 years, that job has meant writing and sharing songs and stories as a member of that group and as an individual. A lifetime of awakening and giving voice to memories and dreams, others as well as my own. Between the fall of 2014 and the spring of 2017, that included personally getting on a bus half a dozen times for a total of 2 months with different groups of students and adults, most from the Northwest, many with ties to the University of Washington and Bellevue College, sharing an intergenerational, interracial experience traveling through the American South, visiting sites, meeting people, hearing stories, singing songs important to the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. And along the way, we learned each other's stories. And at times we felt safe enough to bare our souls. Together redefining what it can mean when we say America the beautiful, America the difficult. We called those trips pilgrimages because the places we visited had been consecrated by the blood of ordinary people, doing extraordinary things to make the American dream more real and truer for all of us. Those pilgrimages gave me faith in this country, hope for the future, and a love for who we are and who we can be when we reflect back and are reflected in things like the incomplete dreams of the founders and the uncompleted dreams of the civil rights movement. As an older white man who's been able to spend a lifetime with banjos and guitars, bringing American music to the world, those experiences were an important reminder of how indebted I am and how enhanced my career and, more importantly, my life continues to be by the contributions of Black America and Black Americans to this country and its diversity, including my grandchildren, whose paternal roots are embedded in Kerala, India. With a deep sense of gratitude, I'm inspired to share some of those stories, sing some of those songs that were part of the civil rights movement, that continue to fill me with wonder and remind me of how important it is to remember the dream. Oh, by the way, that first song was written by jazz great Billy Taylor for his daughter, made popular by Nina Simone and a favorite of Dr. Martin Luther King. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. Walking, talking with my mind stayed on freedom. We begin our story in Montgomery, Alabama, the first capital of the Confederacy. Birmingham, it's 90 miles to the north. Built around the Cahaba River, which joins the Alabama River, which flows through Montgomery and on to Selma underneath the Edmund Pettus Bridge, 52 miles west. The triangle formed by those cities forms the heart and the spirit and the fact of a moment and a movement that gave voice and meaning to the best of America, the best of a dream. Imagine we're on the banks of the Alabama River in Montgomery, where cotton and slaves came in and out of the city. We'll begin walking up Commerce Street. It was once dotted with slave pens, cotton warehouses. In less than half a mile, we're going to reach Court Square Fountain, where two communities, Alabama Town and New Philadelphia, grew together to form Montgomery, around an artesian spring, a site where slaves were displayed and auctioned over there, that's the house where Jefferson Davis signed the order to attack Fort Sumter, started the Civil War. Over here, that's where Rosa Parks was arrested for not giving up her seat on the bus. A few blocks away, that's where the Freedom Riders were beaten. And at the fountain, we take a slight left onto Dexter Avenue, and we'll head toward what was once known as Goat Hill, now the site of the state capitol, where Jefferson Davis took the oath of office as President of the Confederate States of America. We're on the exact spot marked by a bronze star 102 years later. George Wallace proclaimed segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. And just below the steps of the Capitol, because Governor Wallace didn't allow him on state grounds in the spring of 1965, that's where Dr. King, after walking the 52 miles from Selma, gave his "How long? Not long" speech. Dr. King made his speech in the shadow of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. That's where his career began. Not far from that church, the First Avenue Baptist Church, where his dear friend Ralph Abernathy preached, and where people often gathered during the year-long bus strike. Freedom, 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 freedom. A block before the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church and 2 blocks before the Capitol, we'll make a right. And we'll walk a block to the Southern Poverty Law Center, where we find the Civil Rights Memorial. As we approach, we'll hear the sound of water. The memorial, dedicated in 1989, was designed by Maya Lin. She gained national recognition in 1981 when, as a student at Yale University, her design was chosen for the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. A black marble scar on the land, bearing the names of those lost in what was, at the time, the longest war in U.S. history. And while engraving names in marble are common to both memorials, the Civil Rights Memorial, it's by no means the same size or scale. It's less apt to inspire us to take our breath away or take a deep breath, but it's based on the soothing and healing effects of water. The memorial, inspired by a passage from Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech that comes from the book of Moses in the Old Testament. We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. The passage inscribed on a wall over which water falls as part of the memorial. The main part of the memorial is an inverted stone cone containing names of martyrs and moments in the civil rights struggle between 1954 and 1968. I invite you to close your eyes and imagine you're touching the thin layer of water that flows over those names and events etched in stone. The touching alters the course of the water till we remove our hand, and the water returns to its original smoothness and reminds me of the words spoken in South Africa on June 6th, 1966, 2 years to the day before he died, spoken by Robert Kennedy. Each time someone stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, they send forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy, and daring those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Join me now through songs and stories on a journey, on a pilgrimage. After noting the date, May 17th, 1954, written in stone when the Supreme Court stated to the country that separate was not equal, we will take a step further and stare down into the water, and we'll gently touch the name Emmett Lewis Till. Let justice roll down like water, righteousness like a mighty stream, for our grandsons and granddaughters remember to remember the dream. How long? Not long. How long? Not long. How long? Not long. Let justice roll down like water, righteousness as a mighty stream, for our grandsons and granddaughters remember to remember the dream. Remember to remember the dream.